Tonight, I'm very excited to welcome Yrsa Daley-Ward, celebrating your release of The Catch. Twin sisters Clara and Dempsey have always struggled to relate their familiar bond severed after their mother vanished into the Thames. At the Thereabouts. In adulthood, they are content to be all but estranged, until Clara sees a woman who looks exactly like her mother on the streets of London. The Catch, this version of Serene, aged in that day, has enjoyed a childless life. In her riveting first foray into fiction, Yrsa celebrates a kaleidoscopic multiverse of daughterhood and motherhood, exploring the sacrifices that Black women must make for self-actualization. The result is a marvel of the debut novel that boldly asks, how can it ever be a crime to choose yourself? Yrsa is a poet, writer, and actress. She's the author of The How, Bone, and the Terrible, for which she won the Pen Akery Prize. Yrsa will be in conversation with Glory Edim, a literary tastemaker, entrepreneur, and advocate for diverse voices in literature. In 2015, she founded Well-Read Black Girl, an online platform and a book club dedicated to celebrating the works of Black women authors and creating support and online community for readers. So please join me in welcoming Yrsa and Glory to Politics and Prose. Hello, Simon. Hi, everyone. Can we do one more round of applause? This look is so fantastic, and I can't wait to talk to you about all the things. I'm gonna put on my professional voice for you, like I'm in a podcast. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for writing this book, being so vulnerable, and just being an incredible storyteller. Thank you so much. We are going to start with a reading before we go into questions, because I think adding your beautiful voice to get context for the story will be a nice way to open up this session. Okay, hi everyone. This section that I'm going to read requires context, so I'm going to read the context. So the context is that Clara, who is seen as the most successful, loved twin, who everything seemingly comes to, is the one that spots their mother. Who she thinks is their mother in a shopping center, and she becomes so taken with this idea, it just hits her out of nowhere. It's like, this is her. It's got to be her. And in this section, she has followed her home to her block of flats and followed her upstairs and broken in, as you do. And this is what happens. Night has fallen by the time I get back to Drinkwater Towers, set just across from the newsagents, which could be from another time if you squint in the right lights. I park my car far up the road. I take a breath, take several breaths, get out of the car, moving toward the house. All around, it is quiet. The streets are empty, but for a man sleeping in a dull red car opposite. Before I have time to double think, I press the doorbell. Twice, 3 times. Then, after waiting a while, I call every single doorbell. 12 doorbells. There is this high-pitched buzzing sound, and the front door gives. I cross the dark concrete foyer and climb the 2 flights of stairs. I follow the brown carpeted path to the farthest door on the left. I knock loud and fast before I had time to dig myself out with it. Nobody answers, which is just as well. There is this damp-looking balcony outside the 3rd floor exit door, running along the left of the flat. Now I'm facing the room I was peering into earlier. Separating us is this window of cloudy glass. Through the glass, I notice the bright amber walls of this photo I recognize, a room I have seen before, a deterrent, a warning perhaps. But when I try the window, it moves outwards at the bottom. I snap my hand in and unlock the latch. and the window gives from the bottom a weak lock. In a swift movement, I thrust the window toward myself and climb inside. I place my foot onto her soft carpet, gingerly at first, as though it might be a hologram, as if it could disappear from underneath me at any point. When I'm sure that the room is really a room, and explore is really a floor, I look up and around me, and it is almost as though I have fallen inside one of our photos. The collection of objects that surrounds me renders the sea that is not a replica of the photo, but close, as though they might be sisters. But the color scheme, the feeling of the room are all present, all correct, and I've been here before. I understand that I have lived, or at least dreamed this, the knowing hue of the place, the honey wood of the floor. Even the sound of the floorboards feels tragic and familiar. On one wall, I see this glamour picture of our mother, her tall, slender frame adorned in orange and peach feathers. There are green beer cans and odd boxes of tools and electrical wires. There's so much orange and red and blue, and this collection of small mirrors on every shelf. In the dark, I catch myself reflected 3, 4, 5 times. The mirrors betray my lips, blinking and bright. My heartbeat now quickens. I smell the beast in myself. I take my phone from my pocket to obtain some fruit. Dempsey will die, and she knows about this. Dempsey will have a heart attack. Dempsey will have to believe me now. I snap the point where the wallpaper meets the floor, immortal. I snap the wood chip on the wall and the too old to be from this decade curtains, unquestionable. I snap the photos of her, the space where the large mirror should be, and then I hear the door close behind me. Sometimes it is nighttime and I had a drink or two. I might see shadows that remind me of mice or moving things from the underworld. It's a head trick, anxiety, I tell myself. But no, someone is with me in the room. Before I had time to make a decision, I feel a cold thing between my back ribs. Turn around, says the ink voice, or I'll beat the shit out of you. Barging. I asked you to turn around, says the voice. Run or play dead, but I can't move. My mother's voice, a spell. Quickly, losing patience, she spins me around. For a second, there's just the two of us in the dark, eyeball shining. I take a chance. I move. She moves swiftly and does this trick with her legs that has me on my back. I lie there trying to take everything in. She climbs on me, her face over mine, using the weight of her head and body to pin me down, and with her elbow underneath my chin, she forces my head over to one side. I'm going to kill you now, says my mother, in as deliberate a tone as I've ever heard. In the stillness of my body, I feel calm. I study the deep brown nape of her neck, at once exhilarated by how familiar she smells. Smoke, the woods, the trees, as though wild things might be growing inside her. I close my eyes and I wait for it. I hold my breath, and I almost hope it hurts.
So imagine that passage throughout the whole book. That energy is what pulls your attention throughout the whole book. And I had the honor of being able to read this when it was a manuscript, when it was still, becoming and finding its shape. And the word that stood out to me when you just read that passage was head trip. And that is exactly what Gina and I were this is so surreal. Like, it's a total head trip. I feel pulls in and a little bit crazy, but I like it. It's like it's that feeling of just like, I don't know if it's the direction completely, but I'm going to follow the author all the way through. And that is the type of writer you are. Like, we trust the uncertainty. We trust the loops and bounds that you give us. Can we talk about how the catch in general really has this quiet tension throughout it. And I'm very curious to hear from manuscript I read to now, what was the first image that sparked your mind to write the book?
Oh, no one's asked me that. I'm trying to think, what was the first thing? Well, the first image, I think, is that image of seeing somebody and somebody turning around and you go, oh my God. I think that was it. That premise, just having that little spark was what made me want to write this book, and just what comes after that. You know, sometimes I'm like, 99% of the time it's nothing, and then you go back to doing what you do. But there's that little percent when it means something and something surreal and wonderful.
Is there something that when you were writing the book, what I also loved about it was how the pacing was so deliberate. Like you give us these just beats of okay, this is happening. And you really give us a lot of interior dialogue, whether it is with Dempsey or Clara. It feels dreamlike at times. Can you talk about the undercurrent, that unease? Was that always intentional, or was that something that came out organically as you were writing the book?
I think the unease is very easy for me. But, I think that it mimics real life. I mean, I think we feel, there's a lot of uncomfortable stuff, or a lot of times where you have, this undercurrent of anxiety for whatever reason, and living in the world today, or living in your body, or, whatever's going on. It's not arguing to find that because it's just there. So, yeah, being able to put words to that and being able to, just also life moves quite quickly. Yeah, sometimes for some of us, and you can have that sense that it's careering out of control. And a lot of books do a lot of beautiful description, but I think that sometimes things are just moving too fast for them. You have to be in the action.
Yeah, what I really do appreciate is that despite that that anxiety that lives in the text, you do have a clear structure, because that was something, again, this is the non-girl book for Black Girl Books, but I had the opportunity to be really close to with the text. And you still, even as you're free-flowing, it sounds you are very deliberate about your craft. So when you are writing, is there do you outline? Do you have a way of thinking through the different plot points, or does it again just come as you're writing?
Oh no, I think that I want to say that I have these outlines of stuff, and I don't. So the only way that I can sit there and start with a page and come out with a book is that it's got to be fun, because it will be boring for me to, if I knew where it was going. I don't think I would want to write. Yeah, I think I enjoy things that are kind of high octane, and I like to be able to follow this theme as it moves through me. So really, when I'm writing, I'm making myself available to it. I'm not the director of it. I'm kind of just, I feel like I'm following behind, just going, let me take that note. The thing is moving through. Yeah, and that's how it stays, Bo. Yeah.
No, you can tell, it feels like a living thing. That is what I kept coming back to it. This, as you were writing, or even when you're reading, and just has such energy to it. Can you talk about how your work deals with this emotional complexity? Because even the sisters in this book, they're vastly different. They have such wide temperaments, right? The way the passage you read, how Dempsey would have reacted to the sister, and compare the Clara, where she's taking pictures of the wood chips and trying to gather this evidence. How did you develop that such unique ways without it feeling, in contrast to each other? They were it just says, with twins, you just have assumption that they gotta be solar, but they feel so different as characters.
But the beautiful thing about repeating twins is that I got to put all the strange parts of my personality in, and they fit because it's two people. So it was nice to be able to write something that feels congruent to, I didn't have to go far to find those mad things, to be honest. And it's, we're all so many things that people want to box us off and say, you're this, and you work with this spectrum. And it's not true. We're all capable of such dark and such light. And there are so many things. So I think it's very easy to bias a wealth of characters inside of what you do, if you are true about the days that you feel, which are often in contrast to each other. You know, we all walk in contradiction, so it was lovely to get to put that somewhere.
I love that. It makes me also think of just the how what you're describing. It feels like they're trusting your intuition as you're writing. So let's go with intuition of motherhood, because that is something that you kind of turn the tables on. That story, that narrative, like motherhood is the thing that we all long for and we quote unquote want, but instead you make it as this like alternate reality of like, what if, we are really about self-actualizing and not longing these like social norms, right? So why did you decide to tackle that to make it really about this other life that a mother has?
The older you get, you sort of see your parents, I think, and you think, oh my God, they're just people. They're just like that. And I am now the age that I remember my mum at, which is just that's a head trick. It's like, oh my God, she was actually younger than I am now. It's like, oh my, how did they have kids that do all this? So just that idea of the split self and that they are people of their own with their own everything, desires, agency, doubt, mental health, mental patterns, story, beyond being your parent. And I wanted to play with that. And because often you don't take a people in our family for the full, but you can't, because you look at them through the specific set of blinkers. So because I was thinking about my mother, who passed away, she stays a certain age in my mind's eye, and I was able to play with that and think, oh my God, what was her inner life?
Yeah,
It helps me be a lot more understanding now of some of those decisions I could not understand when I was younger and in her care. So it really, you get to a lot when you start thinking of your parents beyond what they are to you or have been to you.
Yeah, and I mean, I really love the way you positioned the mother's audacity and just what felt like fearlessness, like this is a reality that, and I cannot wait for you all to read it, because let's talk about reliable narrators and what that means when you're writing a book like this. Like, how do you, is that a plot device that you use when you're thinking of, is it, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, it would be, like, it can't be in this one, because nobody, no one's nice. Everybody's struggling. Everyone is, coming at it from specifically their angle. And often in the book, you'll come upon the same scene told by a couple of different people and what it meant to them and how certain things have been left there. How certain things have been, kind of, I guess there's a magnifying glass on them, they've been embellished. So it was fun to be able to do that.
It's incredible. What I kept thinking of books that your story would be in conversation with, and one of my favorite novels is White Teeth by Zadie Smith, who also does that same kind of playing with that device of, making you think one thing, but then as the plot goes, you're slowly discovering that, like, okay, perhaps this character, this isn't someone I can trust.
Right.
So why I just would love for you to just keep fleshing out just like why you are adamant of creating characters so complex.
Because I don't know what it is to be anything else, and I think we're all complex and go on. But number two is like, what if both of them are right? It's according to you.
Yeah.
You know how something made you feel.
Right.
So, the more we start playing with what is actually true, is it a blend? Is it neither? Is it like just that's true for you and this is true for me?
Right.
And there's a certain, and this is the big theme in the book, that there's a certain authorship to your life. You're designing this thing, you're making it. So yeah, that's not only to play with as well. It's not necessarily that the characters want to lie, but maybe they have to lie to make life make sense. make what they're doing make sense, you know? So
Can you talk about just, because, and again, you'd be like, Gloria, what are you talking about? But it feels like almost like a multiverse, like a universe that you had, that you've created. And where, okay, it's like there's one reality, but then the characters confronting all these different concepts of self, you know, what they're thinking, how they're feeling. And then there's a version of just of the past. Can you, because again, I saw it so early, can you talk about how you structure that piece out? Did the past happen first or the future?
I wish I knew. You know, look at this. The book, the order of the book is the order where they came. So when you're surprised, I'm surprised. Because I'm going with the thing that, not to get all like spiritual and esoteric, but I think you sit there as the writer, you make yourself available, you get the hell out of the way so you can get your id or whatever it is out of the way, your fear, whatever it is over what you're writing. And you just turn up and do the work. So I can't always say, even though technically I wrote it, I do think that something's moving through you and you follow that. So nothing's structured. It's like the story gets its own momentum, an own life. And then I note it down. And I was joking that I'm like the secretary. You just say, wait, I'm going to give you the minutes of this scene that's just appeared. You know, and there's a truth to that. It means you're listening to your intuition, which when you do that, you listen to your intuition gets stronger in response. And so the more you do that, write like that, speak like that, follow your heart, the louder it gets. He's like speaking it. So that's what we did. It's just, I think it's so beautiful talking to you and hearing how you trust your vision so closely. I have worked with other editors that structure or authors that write in a way that is so prescriptive. And there's no like right or wrong because everyone's different personality. However, I do think it shows me it's because you're also holy, you know? So how did your poetry like and the things that you like on your Substack, editor, and the book that you wrote, how leave your memoir, how did that all go this hot? Well, you think that the Wendy did impact the way that you approach this? Yeah, I think it's got to. I think your life from this until now is going to be infused in whatever you do. Not in an obvious way, but in this way. It's like, I was saying, so somebody asked me about how long it took to write it, and I said that I was writing it, and then, you know, a couple of months will go, make someone's look into it, so I don't want to mess with the bio and it all agrees. But that space, you're living more of life. So then it's like a mixture when you're making cake and you have to aerate the mixture. The air comes into it. So, you know, even living the past 2 years with that fell into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything I've done to this point, the poetry, everything comes into that. Even the memoir comes into that because of grittiness. Yeah.
One of the interviews that you had, there was a great, central question: how can it ever be a crime to choose yourself? How does that, for you, really resonate with the catch? Because at the end, I'm not going to go spoiler, but the end, it's crazy. The end is just so it is not what I expected at all. I feel like you really pivoted in a way that was impactful, less still pop impression. But do you agree with that? Do you feel like that's a sort of question of the catch, or just it, regardless of the circumstances, we always have to choose yourself?
Yeah, and I still don't know the answer to that because there are so many elements of it, and you start a book not knowing the answer, and sometimes you finish it not knowing the answer. And I don't know the answer to motherhood. You know, there's so many gaps in my knowledge about that. I'm not a mother, and my own experience in my mother is interesting. So maybe, I don't know, but maybe I wrote the book trying to find something out, and you tell me when you read it. I didn't.
You mentioned the loss of your mother earlier. Was this another way to honor her memory, or even find a way to turn your grief or that process into literature? How did you hold that?
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, I always say, like, it's writing a book is like such a delicious kind of wish fulfillment because you get to experience what you want, if you want. I mean, if you, depending on what you write, but you get to really, play with the fantasy. And one of mine is that I see it. And it happens all the time, like especially in a place like New York. I see someone who from the back or the side looks like her, and I think, oh my God, that, that could be. It isn't, but it could be. And even the longing that brings is so visceral. And, things aren't all one thing. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, this grief, but it's like you can't have grief without intense love. Yeah, and the longing. I go, okay, let me play with that and see what would it be like if she suddenly appears, even for like a couple of days. What would that experience be? And would my need of that, my intense need of that, which never goes away, what would that cause me to do? Yeah, with that time.
Yeah. There's something I'm going to keep returning to the piece that you just read because when the mother said, I'm going to kill you, right? And it's like Clara like welcomes it. She's just to have that contact, that connection with, and it's just like that intensity of just like longing to be held and to be known. That is what I really picked up on. And another thing I really want to talk about, because it feels like another through line throughout the book, is just transformation. Throughout this, every chapter, it's like hitting this note of, it's building in terms of suspense, but there's constantly, the characters are constantly changing. And can you talk about that and the decision around this like transformation of just not only the characters, but the plot itself?
Well, these characters they're really at the edge of it, they're really going through it. And there's just something really fascinating about writing people who are going for something. They're really, even if it is chasing the drink and the drink and the drugs, or it's like, living vicariously through people online, or it's like, be very risky, lots of different your ways of acting out. There's so many ways you can like try and feel something in life, and I think they transform so much because they're striving, and it goes horribly a lot of the time. But they're striving for something. They want to feel something, and I know what that is, and that makes really exciting subjects to watch and to write about, and that's what I want to see. As someone who is a seeker and is really interested in feeling something. So I think, what did I hope I?
No, you did. I mean, it really speaks to just like you said, life is unpredictable and it's full of uncertainty. And I think that is really a challenge to capture in a fiction, in a novel. Because a lot of times you want things to be resolved, there's a bow at the end, and you don't do that for us, but we still feel very satisfied of the outcome because it feels like it's a realistic depiction, but it just feels honest. And I think that is like such we don't always need it to be perfect. We just need it to feel real. And I think that's something like you really do very clearly in your work.
Thank you. And also, there is a kind of, I don't know if it's coming from poetry, but I don't feel that need to make things neat. And so, because life isn't like that, it's not. But like, things are rarely resolved in the way you want. And sometimes we get too much information, and that's what the book does as well. Sometimes it's spilling out a lot at you. You're like, wait, even for me, the secretary. Sorry.
There's also, your writing is very lyrical, and there's passages, but there's just a lot of like repetition or these pieces where the characters are coming back to a certain moment. What was that like writing that? Was that intentional in terms of trying to find like a lyrical flow to it?
I think, again, this idea of following the trail means that you're a beat behind. So it's like music. So sometimes, when sometimes things happen and it's a lot, we don't recall it or experience it in perfect sentences like, oh my God, this has happened. Oh my God, now look at this. It's fast. It's like, it's staccato. It's like you're halfway through the sentence and then you see something else and you're like, wow. And I wanted to mimic how it's coming through me instead of like getting the text and wrangling it into what we think the book should be. I'm not really that interested in what a book should be. It's like, what is the truth of this moment? How am I going to get it down and then make it succinct and give the reader the next thing that's happening in the scene? I don't want to be all flowery with language in that specific time if we don't have time. Like this crazy thing is happening.
I also want to call there's another part of editing, working with the new text, so is the chapter coming. I really love that. I don't know, at readers in a row, sometimes you will not have table contents, and that will bother me. I like there should be envelope or just like chapter headings. Like that's like a old school thing that most of us don't do anymore. And so the fact that you even had chapter endings, I don't kind of love. There's this line that chapter 7 or the other half of the letter, like there were just like these small nuanced things that made the book feel clever and like a puzzle. Can you talk us through how you decided to do some of the headings almost as like these clues towards the story?
Sometimes I just do the headings because I'm like, I need you to know that this is happening now. You've moved to this. Yeah, you moved to this person. She's not impressed by the situation. So if you like, she is not impressed by the situation, and that you saw, so that you're not, because I wanted it to be real life, but you don't want it to be so dizzying that people are like, no, honestly, what is going on? So there's something about that I just want to place it a little bit and let you know, and that you'll get into the madness of it. There's a lot of action.
Another thing is because I was, again, I'm like, that is so brilliant. How has it been with interpretations? Because there's so many readers are going to read this one way, even as part of the team. Like Gina and I would go back about different things. And I would see it one way and she would see it completely different. How's that been? Like actually engaging with people that are about the work now that have a really visceral reaction to it, or they love Clara but don't like those Dempsey. Like how's that, people just disengaging with the characters direct?
I haven't experienced it yet. It's not
really good.
I haven't experienced it yet, but it'll be interesting going forward. Yeah, I'm really keen to see. And the other thing I love about just getting a piece of work putting out in the world is that it's like full of mirrors. So you'll see what you need to see in it, and your friend will see what your friend he or she or they need to see in it, and that it's like it really doesn't matter. It's what it means to you, what it becomes like this, like your property, And I like that. And I also like that the second read is a bit different. I like that it's a moving thing. It's like living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you feel, like I mentioned White Teeth earlier, but were there other books that influenced you or made you feel like you wanted to like move in this direction, or in a bookstore, I wanted to be next to this novel?
No. I think that would have taken more thinking about it than I want to do, because I want the thing to be what it is, and I don't want to, because I don't know best, I don't know it before. You have to do it to go know what it is. So Rob, I never want to be in a box in any area of my life. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I'm the same about like what I make.
Yeah. And I really do appreciate just like your candidness of being able to be fluid and go along with it. Because publishing can feel very boxed in, and it does sometimes require you to like go a certain direction, but you push against all of that and still make such beautiful real work.
Yeah, it doesn't always help me in our life. Like, we're fruits. Yeah.
No, we appreciate it. It's very good. We very easily appreciate that. Can you talk a little bit more about the things that were left out? I know there are some key plot points that were changed throughout this experience. Where was one device or like one chapter of the show because this isn't working anymore?
Oh my God, but now, because it's like it seals up, but then you forget it. I don't know. I don't know if there was anything, and maybe this is where I would do it differently, because every time you do it differently. But I don't know if there was a large piece that I took out. I'm trying to think, but I really don't think that there was. I think I had. Yeah, I think it kind of overflowed, and then there were lots of extra bits that came to me, and I was like, "What does this need?" But I'm gonna trust it, for better or worse.
There's I was having a conversation with a friend you had the copy of the book, and we started talking about just region. Like if this had happened in the U.S. versus the UK, like how the experience would have been different. Did you make up with why the placing in the UK compared, or instead of having it in another part of the world?
In my heart, I know the UK, and this felt like a London story. There was a moment when I was going to have it up north, which is where I'm from. And it just the River Thames just kept coming back, because it's just this body of water that we think that the mother disappeared into all those years ago. They said she was missing, presumed dead, or was dead. We don't know. And the River Thames there's just something about it. And also at that time of my life, I'll spend a lot of time in South London and just thought about those streets and things that could happen there. And I got to know it very well, like the Peckhams, the Brixtons, the London Bridge. Yeah, it meant something. So I kept it there.
No, it was for us as I feel there is like a sense of UK sensibility to it. But some of the things that makes sense. It feels like that would happen, and that and even like reading in the beginning, they were first was like, I have to look up this area. Yeah, it's like, and that's also I feel like part of the experience, like just the unknowing that lives in the book, where you feel like it makes you curious to learn more about it.
Right, and the lingo, like there's so much slang that I go that editor like, what? So you mean it? Like, yeah, that's how we say it.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little update that I have. Actually, I feel like you might know him. Omar Yemi, he was a lead gay. I'd like, what do you think about this? Or like, how's this down? And he's like, yeah, let's see it. Well, wait, it's right, bro. Get it. Like, just try to give me like tips on how the dialogue should flow. But it always, again, just sounds real as you wrap the whole book. You just get this impression of, okay, this is the settings, the energy that you're trying to give, and you're meeting the viewer on in a very organic way.
And also just how dark it gets in London, and the lack of light sometimes, that adds a lot to what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Can we talk about the title? Yes, why you decided to call it The Catch?
Oh, because there's a catch to all everything, isn't there? And I wanted to talk about this seemingly dream scenario, and then the catch. But there are captures all the way through this, just like, and there's like this double, triple meanings in that, with the way something catches on you. There's the catch when you simply found the person, or the thing, and then there's just the catch, the trick in the story. So catch meant a lot of these.
No. Yeah, I can add. Now guess what your first question Sue would have like. If I was working like, yeah, I look about like go mix of like the story more, but can you talk about just if you had growing up which was fine with the catch to me, were there other basic guided questions or threads that you were trying to pull us into? Or was it overall again like you just finding your way through a story?
I think the book throws out a lot of questions, and sometimes they're questions that you didn't know you had.
Yeah,
and it does. I saw it's a thing. I want to give it to the floor. Like, what does this mean? And what if this happened to you? What would you do? And what do you think of that? And also question your own judgment, the way that we look at people, and what is perceived what is real, and also this way of looking at people that we perceive a lot, people that we presume have a lot going for them, who on the inside are not coping. I mean, there's a lot of that. We live very parasitic lives because of, you know, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, the TikToks. It encourages this kind of watching, but the problem with the watching is that we project so much on ordinary people in this really unfair way, and so it was important for me to look at that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that you're giving us analysis of that, but you're really putting it on the reader to check their own bias and the ideas they have towards the characters, but the behaviors too. You know, I kept thinking about, you know, who gets this up the north, who says this is the truth versus it's not. You know, can you just? I'm also going to open it for the audience questions. I would love to just hear more about your writing process as it evolved, and if there was anything that, as a new writer, someone's emerging and they wanted to do something similar, what advice would you get that?
I think that the advice that I give all the time, it hasn't changed really. There's two main things. I think the first one is consume everything, read everything. You can't stay stagnant, and you can't only read and come into contact with the same things over and over again. You have to be curious about life, curious about the people, curious about people that you don't agree with to a large extent, because that's how you develop, like the paints in the paint box. It can't only be like this step to a green. I mean, we want all the hate so that we can start doing things beyond our understanding, and we can work with intuition. Just once you feed your intuition with all of those things, your intuition's going to take that and run. Yeah. So I think really opening yourself up and not being afraid to like knock on some doors that you wouldn't have knocked on a year ago. I think the curiosity is really important, and living your life, you know, like romancing your life and going for things and not being afraid, not getting too stagnant and trapped. So I said about 4 things, but it's all kind of the same thing, you know, reading and the foray. And then the second thing, just making yourself available to what you're doing. That means not letting other things in the way. So if you know that when you do a certain thing, it kind of shrinks your brain, and then you don't have the brain, you just don't have the focus to your practice, then that stuff has to come after your practice, because we already know like how our grades work. We all have different relationships with focus. So it's about really learning how your brain works, and then, you know, optimizing that, like working with that. For me, it's first thing in the morning before I know what bills I have to pay, and who's mad at me, and who I have to, like, you know, deal with online. And nobody talks to me, and it's just that first part of the morning when I'm closer to myself, and before I start doing all the, you know, like kind of just being accommodating and doing the things that shrink me, adulting, you know. So it's like it's getting ahead of that, but really making that time for myself and not allowing anything to come ahead of that. Well, I won't have practice. I just won't, because the day will come and like crush me, and I won't get in the chance at that. So that hurt.
Not so what it's a. I mean, what you're describing is making you get into yourself.
Yeah,
you know. So we're going to take questions from the audience. We have a mic personnel. Hello, thank you so much. It's very tantalizing that we haven't read it. Well, I haven't read it because I felt like, and also I can't speak very well because I had a brain injury. Sorry, but I'm in London now, so I had it already sort of yearning. And I'm fascinated by that idea of inner life. Always, it's been my sort of obsession since I was a very long time ago. And I was wondering about where you are, where you think about sort of this moment in time where
you could look back where generations ago and parents and people before kind of social media, where inner life was kind of private, mostly kind of sacred, and he said. But now, whether to people, where you think it that feels that you can't look back inside there, so work out their inner life. It all has to be projected out into a screen, and all the people, like, whatever it is, bits and data, and whether there's a sense where because you're such a seer, as a poet, you just can see and show us it with a word or a couple of words, so like what this is all about, and whether you feel that it can explain where we are in the time and history, or whether that's just keep like that, whether we are losing something that the what writers and the thinkers, and are you worried? Sorry, no, like it's in a very cogent.
No, and I like the way, as you asked the question, I had a billion answers for it. Like I can make it coherent, but it's very coherent. No, I really liked the question because worried, no, not worried, but I do feel the sense that I have to really protect, protect my brain. That's so protect my space, protect my story, and it's what I was saying before about taking that space and not letting it be kind of preached, because we are receiving like 583 notifications. I can make that number up, but we are aspired. But by the afternoon, and so there is a certain amount of really strict manning that you have to do with that, and I think that's very difficult now, because quite frankly, I also need to be on there to have an event and to let people know that the event is happening and to respond to, and that takes up the day. I mean, it really does. So it is a delicate dance, and it leaves, it leaves me exhausted, because I have to make, I'm a one-man band currently-ish, and I thought you have to make time for both, and because of the age that we're in, with the pressure to monetize everything, even your personality, it's rough, because you've got to balance it. You can't be. You have to be kind of good for business as well, or you'll do all this work and nobody will know you've done the work. So I don't know how well I'm asking that question, because you talked about inner lives. It's imperative, I think, that you feed your inner life by allocating a certain amount of the day to it all the time, and also being around people who spark that. So you can do that in community as well, because if you forget that you have this community, you will find somebody that will remind you, your friends will remind you, and you'll be able to enrich each other. So it's all of that I'm trying to remember and do for myself, because it's easy to be isolated. It's easy to forget what this is all for. It's easy to scroll your life away and look at other people. And I don't want that for my life, but also I have to make a bit. So it's a balance.
And I would also push back and say that, like, the Emersons, the Thoreau, they were the influencers of their time, given their technology that they had with writing. And that's why we study those things now. It's just like overconsumption in media has the technology that has changed, but I feel like there has constantly been projectors of inner lights in the public space. But the tools would change at such a rapid pace.
This year, oh, this Oh, it's all okay. So I'm very curious about. I love hearing like what artists, like what they listen to music wise when they create art, and I'd love to hear like some of the songs or some music that kind of inspired you while you were writing books.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. So in the book you'll see a lot of music because I put a lot of music in the book. But I love electronic music. I love bands like there's a band from the north called Dark Star. There's an American band called No Justing. There are people who make electronic music that you can write to, and there's like a beat. I like a lot of lyricless music. There's obviously that the words are coming to me when you gotta listen to them, so I don't want to kind of like diverge from that. Sometimes I listen to something that, if it's well known, but it's a lot of electronic music. It's a lot of kind of dark. I've got playlists. I'm gonna make it public. I have playlists for every piece that I'm working on. Sometimes I'm working on a lot once, but I have a Spotify. Oh yeah, let me plug my Spotify. I have playlists on my Spotify. You see it. And I really do go in with my playlist. So I have one. It's the one for the cat. I've got one for the cat, and then another one called Electric Writing. But Electric Writing is the main one I was writing to when I was writing the cat, and that is public. Yes.
I lost my books. I just returned from out of the countries. Oh, there. Okay, yeah. That's the. I lost my books. I just returned from out of countries, celebrating a friend's wedding. And such a good time. I lost my books entirely, but I'm a fan of your work, Lori. I'm a fan of your work. I'm particularly intrigued. I haven't read the book, but what you were saying about the perspective of parents and them parents having agency or a mother having agency, which is particularly interesting because my friends and I, while I was out of the country, we had a conversation. So it's so interesting that you touched upon this because we distinctly remember our parents at the age that we are now. I have 3 kids in college. And so as I continue to be in awe of the fact that I have 3 kids in college and I don't feel like I'm mature enough to have 3 kids in college, and I'm fortunate that my parents are still here. And remembering them at this age and like understanding how well they knew, because I know nothing. And one of my friends while I was gone and was speaking to just remembering that we have to extend our parents' grace. As we realized that like Yrsa, you said all of the decisions that they made when we were young that we just could not understand. How could you? How dare you? They do so little. Like it's such a journey that has no blueprint, no guidebook, no nothing. The thing that I oftentimes feel like I'm made it so too were they. So I'm particularly intrigued by that component of the story. And like that you lent a voice to that. If I may, because I also argue mentioned that you're not a mom and I'm not checking you. Do you, and this may be a question for you as well, Lori, do you ever feel conflicted when you're, I guess, identifying characters or composing a story, and I'm not a writer, about lending a voice? Like if I'm writing from the perspective of a tech giant, I'm not a tech giant. So I may feel like an imposter trying to like craft a character or a story in that way, not having a personal perspective. Is that ever posture?
Well, with this particular story, that's a really good question. With this particular story, because there are the twins, Clara and Dempsey, who are not parents. They think about it, but they are not. And then there's this figure who could be their mother, could be a version of their mother that hasn't had them yet, because everybody is 30 when this. When they're so I don't much play with the specific experience. There is, and I don't want to give it away. And there's some delving into it that I felt on the right side of it, because the questions that occurred to me for each day are very much in the book. I'm trying to be really the work I'm talking about. So that's all I'll say. But you'll know when you read.
Yes, this is like the question's very general. Okay, go underneath things, spoilers that Serene and everybody's the ending chapter.
And I also make my comments. I'm sorry. I also want to say what you said about even as a parent having agency and your life as a mom doesn't have to be entirely about parity. And also reaching that season in my life, I guess now who I've become an empty nester and my kids are in college, like I don't have to be entirely consumed by my role as a parent. You know what I mean? And when I was younger, I thought of my mom as only being a mother. You know what I mean? And so it's very interesting that you touched upon that when you say, that's validating. So thank you for even just kind of bringing that up in the context of this conversation. Thank you.
The final push of pressure. Hi, thank you to beautiful Wheatmans to this conversation and being here. I just have a question as an aspiring author. And you can just like wait twice. You don't mind answer this? About like how about using AI to like cut that the era that we're in. If you get like stuck or can you do like how do you get out of that? Like tempted to be like, but just like put this in. Let me see what it's at.
I think that one of the great things, one of the, I think, important things about being an artist is using the tools available to you. But I don't think that, I've seen that AI can't write like you. So I think an interesting way of using AI in writing is getting the AI to know you so that the AI asks you questions so you go into yourself. So you can set your AI up to ask you things. It's almost like I guess a memo or questions comes. I think you could certainly, because you as the writer are going to answer in a way more interesting way, but you could set up prompts. So I think, done with that part, may I? I learn about that. That's happened in people's books. But yeah, I think it's about letting something help you to get further into your own craft, because every writer has a specific voice, which even though I know that some people go in and they're like, in this person's style, please, that is that person's style. So if you all have a style, I have a style. I don't know that AI is at the point where it can replicate that yet. When it can, it'll be a very different conversation. But I've seen that, it doesn't write in the way by like, I'm like, no, AI, ask me the question, So I think there are ways of getting it to, ping back at you. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
I love that answer. It gives you control. It allows you to build your own creativity, and it reverses the roles. You don't want to be reliant on it. And you don't want it to take your work, or your voice. Yeah, that's to me that thing. That's like the scary part, because that is happening, and I do not want that. I just want I'm like, I love this book. I remember reason. So your friends, your family, everyone needs to read this book because it's incredible and you're an amazing writer. I just want to close with ways that we can support you. How can we support you with sport, with the made?
Thank you so much for being here, and please spread the word about the book. If you like it, if you hate it, still tell them why it's good. And I have a Substack. It's just my name, yrsadaley-ward.substack.com. I write twice a week on it, come what may, as much as possible. And yeah, I think it's a really good way to get what's in here out on the page and be creative or something else. So come and find me on that.
She's amazing. The editor is so good. I feel like I get inspiration and also like a stern like poppy tuition's happy, and like this is like the reality check that I need to do my work and get to build something to practice something here. So thank you for having me. Thank you.